Is this the week the social media got too real?
Zelda Williams, who is the daughter of Robin Williams, has had enough of people making AI videos of her father and sending them to her. She took to her Instagram stories asking people to stop, and this is what she had to say. Please just stop sending me AI videos of dad. Stop believing I want to see it or that I'll understand. I don't and I won't. If you're just trying to troll me, I've seen way worse. I'll restrict and move on. But please, if you've got any decency, just stop doing this to him and to me, to everyone even, full stop.
TikToker devotedly yours. Reading out some comments there from Zelda Williams. Suchandrika, who's that and what's the story?
So Zelda Williams is the daughter of the late Robin Williams, a comedian and actor, and she is now having people sending her AI-generated videos of her late father, and she went to her Instagram stories and she's begging people to stop, and she says, please stop sending me AI videos of dad. It's not what he would want. It's maddening, it's upsetting, and people can now churn out horrible TikTok slop, puppeteering them, meaning celebrities, well-known people, and it's maddening. And so she's hit upon something that I think is really concerning, which is how much more improved AI videos, AI audio is becoming, that we are going to be seeing a lot more of this type of video. So OpenAI have launched Sora 2 in the last week, and it's their video generator model with AI. It's accessible as a dedicated app in the US. You can't use it in the UK at the moment. I did try, and it's invite only, but it is seen to be a huge improvement on what they had before, and it can create much more realistic videos than what we've had.
So yeah, this is, as far as I can tell, a sort of TikTok-like platform. So you scroll through as a user videos that you're interested in. But rather than them being videos that anyone's actually filmed with their camera, they're videos that are generated by users inputting a few words into a prompt and it generating videos for them. Is that right?
Yes, you can kind of make them do anything you want. So possibly something they would have done in real life, which then you can see leads to people believing that a person did something they didn't do.
Okay. Harriet, what's the point of that?
Effectively, OpenAI is trying to create an alternative to TikTok with only AI generated content, because you can generate videos of yourself and your friends with a feature called cameos, which basically allows you to put your own face or your own self into videos. The first day that it launched, an OpenAI employee claimed that it had posted the first viral video because they created effectively a deep fake of OpenAI CEO Sam Altman shoplifting hardware, computer hardware that's necessary to run AI systems. At the moment, the monetization is very much in question, because even Sam Altman has said that OpenAI is going to have to somehow make money from video generation. And already Sora 2 is seeing people generating way more videos than they had expected. I mean, the problems are so immediately evident, not least the privacy concerns about uploading and scanning your own face and inserting yourself into AI generated scenarios. But there's so many copyright issues, because within days, Sora's feed was just flooded with AI generated videos of copyrighted characters like SpongeBob SquarePants, like smoking a joint, or South Park characters dressed up as Nazis, or Pokemon and Rick and Morty. And just 3 days later, OpenAI had to massively crack down on this with a new copyright policy, because before, their whole thing was that if you didn't want your copyrighted material being used, you would have to opt out. So like any branded content would be fair game. But they've had to revise that really, really quickly, because the legal issues are obvious if your intellectual property is being used in these AI generated videos to do whatever people want. So there's real issues there around intellectual property and copyright as well. But the point of this, just as the point of everything that OpenAI and similar AI companies launch, is monetization, because all of these tech companies are burning through unimaginable sums of money and ravaging the world and the environment with the data centers needed to power the large language models, and all the energy that uses, and all the water that needed to cool it, that we've spoken about on this podcast so many times. Everything about the AI bubble rests on whether these products can actually be monetized, or whether, like what we're seeing with Sora 2, they're just this kind of brief novelty that's creating a never-ending deluge of slop.
Okay. All right. Well, if that's the reason then, Felicity, if the reason is to make money out of it, this is a strange way to go about doing it, isn't it? Same with ChatGPT, really. Releasing the product for free and then just seeing who needs it, then creating the expectation that it's free, and then Chinese companies come along and copy it. It would make sense if you created something like Sora 2 and said, right, Columbia TriStar, you can buy it for $100 million a year and we'll help you make your effects-driven movie. But to help insert me into a Madonna video, how is that monetizing it? That's just cheapening it. Well, it's not going to end up in anything.
Presumably the problem with the copyright is that aren't they leaving themselves open to being like sued?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's why it's that's probably going to be the thing that makes them, regulate and change things, because they're so worried about being like sued by everyone left, right and centre. But yeah, I mean, on the creative side, I just can't really see that this is particularly creative. I can't see why on earth you need to insert yourself into every imaginable scenario. It seems very kind of like self-indulgent to be like, I must be in this Madonna music video. So the whole thing just feels like we're at on the frontier of AI, and it's like Pandora's box, and everything awful comes out, and it takes a while for us to like regulate and be rational and be normal, because it's not just all the copyrighted characters in like compromising situation, but there's like graphic violence, there's graphic racism, there's just like the kind of the worst excesses of humanity seems to immediately come out every time there's like a new innovation in AI, and then it takes a little bit of time for us to remember that we are like civil and can do this in a nice way. I just don't think we need another social media platform. I don't think we need it. I don't think it's creative.
Okay, well, I agree, clearly. Suchandrika, do you? Or do you think there is a positive side to this? I mean, I was trying desperately to look for some when we were researching this, and I did stumble across a video that someone had made, which is kind of in your world, I suppose, because it was a satire. They had managed to, and it is remarkable, the effects are remarkable, worth underlining. It's amazing a LLM has done this. But they had created an advert for Epstein's Island in the style of a 1980s toy commercial, with children gasping and playing with little figures. And as a piece of satire, it was kind of funny. And it did look like something from a sketch show that would have cost thousands of pounds to film, and they'd just done it with a prompt.
Yeah, the ratio is not great, is it? Finding one kind of semi-decent video when there's a lot of terrible stuff out there. I found in PC Magazine, they had a journalist try out Sora 2 and see what it was like to use. And he sort of tried out other earlier versions. And he said it is significantly better than the ones he's tried out before, which is quite concerning, because that leap in quality doesn't necessarily come with a leap in media literacy. And so we go back to this problem of like people believing the stuff that was on Facebook during elections. There are going to be more elections always. And what do these videos add to that? Just more disinformation, more just crap to get through as well. So to find like actually good content, what is this going to do to search engines? It feels like an overall bad thing to throw out more slop.
But it's also just, it's kind of ruined social networking, Harriet. That's the other thing. You know, for those of us elderly millennials who quite liked Facebook when it started, you know, a way of just keeping up to date with what people I actually like and know are doing, I now miss. I just get all this crap all the time.
Yeah, I think a crucial piece of background to this story, why we're calling it Sora 2, is that at the end of last year, OpenAI already launched Sora, which effectively, for anyone that hasn't used it, you put in a little text prompt and it creates a video. So either animations or actual photorealistic footage. And even though the videos were pretty rubbish, like they're nowhere near as good as Sora 2, the ramifications in less than a year have already been huge, not just for Hollywood and for content creators, for filmmakers, I think that's obvious, and for politicians as well, because now any video can be created at any time of a celebrity or a politician saying something that they didn't, and it's incredibly convincing. The implications for democracy, the threat of disinformation, and the threat to intellectual property and copyright issues that we've talked about. But even in less than a year, already most social media platforms are just flooded with AI-generated slop. And it's becoming more and more difficult for most people to distinguish between real and false content. Now, the volume of content now with Sora 2 is going to increase dramatically, But we think that the proportion of quality content is going to diminish, because why would you make something that takes months or years and takes a lot of people and a lot of time and a lot of money when you could do it so much cheaper and quicker, even if it's not as good? This is all part of what's known as the enshittification of the internet. And in terms of monetization, I think it's worth noting that Mattel, which is the biggest US toy maker, they've actually just partnered with OpenAI to test this Sora 2. And you can understand the implications of that as well. Like a big company with a lot of valuable intellectual property like Barbie, if they partner with Sora 2, they can do away with an entire studio creating like a Barbie movie when you can just do it with prompts. The cat is out of the bag.
And that mention of Mattel, Felicity, brings us on to another point here, which is toys. You can see how toy makers will feel more and more comfortable with integrating AI into their products, because it allows children to have that personal experience with their toys that they fantasize about. I imagine that Barbie and Ken are talking to me. Well, now they can, and I can be in the video with them in the dollhouse. As parents and, as readers of your magazine, The Week Junior, how do we deal with this oncoming onslaught of fakery?
I don't think it's clear how we deal with it. I think parents are going to have to be, very vigilant, basically, about what they expose their children to, because AI is one thing. AI in the hands of some of the most impressionable and vulnerable people, children, is an entirely different thing. And I think parents are really grappling with how to navigate this world for their children, because it is such a new thing still. And I mean, even chatbots, I was reading some examples of parents who will use chatbots when they're just too frazzled and too stressed, or they've got too many things to do, and these chatbots will have these amazing long conversations with their kids. There's personalized.
My kids talk to Alexa. It'll start with what's the oldest person in the world, and then when she provides an answer, there'll be a follow-up question. I suppose that is a conversation with AI, isn't it?
And it goes on and on and on, and there's personalized bedtime stories and all these things for kind of stressed out parents is very, very attractive. But the research into how generative AI affects children and their development is still in the really, really early stages. And, you have to remember that this is not a real relationship with a sentient being who wants to talk to you and engage with you and cares about you. And it distorts reality. It distorts what children think is real and isn't real. AI has not been designed with children's best interests at heart. And we've seen it with lots of other, iterations along the journey of, recent technological breakthroughs. You saw with YouTube and Facebook that it took them a decade before they launched products for under 13s. There's been a recent kind of fever about social media and screen times for kids. But AI like this and chatbots is like a whole other thing that parents are going to have to get their heads around, and could be very, very damaging. There's been cases of children who have killed themselves after becoming obsessed with LLM-powered chatbots. So it's really, really serious. There could be a lot of good. I feel that this is a very basic thing to say, and what we always say with AI. There could be a lot of good, but there are also serious harms, particularly when it comes to children.